Every year, millions of girls are forced into marriage. Among them was Sonita Alizada, who at 10 years old was sold into marriage. When that fell through, she was nearly sold again, this time for $9,000. But Sunita refused to be silenced. She escaped that fate and went on to use her voice as a weapon of resistance. Today, Sunita is an internationally acclaimed rapper, human rights advocate, and the author of a powerful new memoir, Sunita, My Fight Against Tyranny and My Escape to Freedom. And she's been featured on CNN, NPR, and Time. And in October, she heads to Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. So today, Sunita, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
First of all, congratulations on becoming a Rhodes Scholar and heading over to Oxford. That's awesome.
I look forward to that. So I'm preparing actually. These a few days I have. I'm preparing for the visa to get ready and go.
Yeah, definitely. So let's start with your story first. If you could bring listeners into your world, can you take us back to what life was like for you as a young girl in Afghanistan and then in Iran?
In Afghanistan, being a girl is always difficult. That should be the first thing to mention. And it can be also easy sometimes because you're not aware of other countries, what other people have, what kind of life, what kind of opportunities they have. So because you don't know, you're also okay with what you have. So sometimes I was in that situation. I was okay as long as they could let me go outside to play, just like every kid would want to do. And sometimes they wouldn't let me. I would find a way, like wearing my brother's clothing, going outside to fit in with boys and be safer. And then going to Iran. We had to leave Afghanistan because of war, because of poverty. So when we were told that Iran was the best place to go to, when we got there, it was nice. The beginning when we arrived, even though the journey was very risky for us. But when we got there, when I saw kids my age, girls going to school, it really opened my eye and it became my biggest dream to one day wear their uniform and go to school to learn how to read and write as well. And after a few weeks, months, it became really hard for us because we are Afghans and in Iran, racism was crazy. And today it's still happening today. So I couldn't have friends. Whoever I wanted to play with, they called me dirty Afghani and never had the opportunity really to feel like I was accepted where I was living. But I was lucky that an Iranian woman, she became friends with me and she told me that she could be my teacher even though she was not allowed to teach Afghan kids even a word. And that's the reason why I could read and write because of someone from Iran became friends with me. She was very sweet and then I learned. So that was the journey in Iran.
Now, I mentioned in the beginning that you were first, you were had sold into marriage or attempted to be sold into marriage. When you were first told that, do you remember that time and how did it felt being told that this was going to happen?
The first time it was I was happy. I was very excited because of the all the goods I received, all the attention I got, new clothing, new shoes, and I didn't have a role model around me. Our neighbors, yeah, everyone got married at such a young age. So for me, that also became a goal for the future. And then because I was too young, so I thought this was basically a game. But at age 16, this was completely a nightmare for me to get married because at that age, I knew what I wanted to be in the future. I had seen enough. I had seen my sisters coming with bruises on their faces because they didn't want to get married and who they married wasn't the right match for them. And then seeing my classmates fighting for their freedoms every day. And then it was my turn at age 16. So it was all building up. I didn't know what to do, who to go to, because whenever I went to my family asking for help, they said, don't speak. Your brothers or your parents will decide for you because you're a girl, you don't know much. So, yeah,
Wow. Now you were able to escape the second forced marriage through the power of your voice. Do you want to talk a little about that and how did the idea to write and record Daughters for Sale come out of that?
I tried many different ways to speak up, to share stories, starting with poetry, pop music. And then one day I went to a gym where I used to work as a cleaner. I heard Eminem rapping. Obviously, I didn't know what he was saying, but I felt the anger in his voice. And when I started rapping over his beat, it felt so right. So I decided to use rap as a tool for me to share stories. So I, with the help of an Iranian filmmaker, Rokhsar Qaimaqami, I created Daughters for Sale, which is about what happened to me as a child marriage survivor and what happened to my friends who could not escape this fate. And then we put it on YouTube. I wasn't expecting anything crazy. I thought only my three fans at school could hear it and maybe the teachers. But then it went viral. It was being played on national TV in Afghanistan. And soon, me and Roxara, we received a lot of calls from other countries. And then I received a full scholarship to go to the US, to go to school for the first time in my life. So, music and the support of others saved my life to escape child marriage.
Yeah. Now, when you put it on YouTube, was it not a risky thing to do? Even just making the video, especially at this time, I think meant you were living in Iran at this time.
That's
Okay, especially yeah, especially that when women weren't, from what I understand, women aren't allowed to sing solo. Were you afraid of the whole process of putting it on YouTube or anything like that?
sure. I was committing two crimes at the same time, being an undocumented refugee in Iran and at the same time singing, rapping. So it was very risky, but I was only thinking about the possibilities, the options I had in front of me, which were not many. I had two. I could give up and just get married, be a slave to the society, or just risk whatever I had, which was my life. And in that case, it could have been win win for me. I could escape, or if I could not. And knowing that I put everything that I wrote on YouTube, I didn't really know that how many people could have access to YouTube. So for me, that was all very new. And I wasn't aware that anyone in the world could see it. So when that happened, I was happy and also sad because I was happy that people will hear me eventually, and sad because I didn't want my family to know that I was doing music, something that is haram in my culture and my family. But knowing it's always obvious that whatever you fight for, whatever you deserve, it also has a price. So I accepted that and did music.
Well, what has been the reaction from your family, from your brothers or sisters, your parents?
The beginning, it was my brothers were all disappointed. When I shared Daughters for Sale, my mom called me. I was expecting to hear a lot of disappointment, but she said, I saw your song, I heard it, it was good. So that changed my entire life because I never thought she would agree with what I was doing. And now, basically, everyone in my family, they're a fan. And sometimes they tell me, they give me ideas what to rap about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You mentioned, coming to America. It was the group called Stone Strong Heart Group, right? That was able to get you and offer you a path to safety and education in US. How was that experience? You mentioned, I want to make sure I heard this right. You said coming to America and going to school here was the first time you had experience with education, right?
That was my first time going to a real school at age 17 or 18. I was super excited, but I got a little bit depressed after a while because I didn't know English. I couldn't speak the language. I didn't know the culture. And one mistake I did, I isolated myself from other people because I couldn't speak. So it was very hard for me, and I was missing my family. I was missing food in Afghan food a lot. But I made good friends eventually who helps me with my homesickness. And I also experienced a lot of shocking moments. Like in the US, there are many opportunities for kids, for students, that they don't see it. They take it for granted. Something that I was dying for, like education. I was risking whatever I had to be in their position. I saw that it's taking for granted. No one would appreciate what they have. And the fact that some of them were so unaware of what was going on in other parts of the world and how many girls could benefit from their voices if they could learn what's happening, for example, in Iran, in Afghanistan, and how these students could give them a chance to share their stories or to basically help them to also feel that they are being seen, they are being heard, the way I felt in Iran when Roxara and the teachers helped me when I needed help. So the whole experience was shocking and also very exciting for me, especially having access to music.
Yeah. And now you graduated from Bard College, and like I said, you're heading to Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. Did you ever think, back then at 10 years old, 16 years old, that you ever imagine having a life that you have now, being in America now, going to be able to go to Oxford in later this year as a Rhodes Scholar? Did you dream of that life as a kid?
No, but I never imagined I would be in the US to go to school, do music. But I did know that I would do something. I would do a favor for myself and have a different life than my mother, who married at age 12, and my sisters, two of them who were sold into marriage. But I don't know how long it would take me to get there if I wouldn't have the support of other people.
Yeah. Now, your book, what was the motivation in telling your story in this format, in memoir format? What was the sort of motivation that you wanted to write this book?
I heard that my story inspired many people. Wherever I went, I shared my music, I shared my story on stages. People got back to me telling me that they were inspired, they want to do something. And I decided to write my story as a testament also for Afghan girls that they can also follow their dreams, even though this situation is very horrible, heartbreaking in Afghanistan. But again, we Afghan people, we know how to hold tight to our dreams and we will eventually find a way. And then I use this moment to write my story for me as a therapy session because I wanted to get everything out. Obviously, it was too difficult for me to go through some moments like child marriage, war, poverty, losing my friend in war. So there were many parts I never wanted to go to revisit because they make me just cry all day, but it feels good that everything is documented now. And so far, people have been learning something from my story that even in the darkest moment, there is a spark of hope and we should not give up.
Yeah, and it is an inspiring story to read because, like I said, folks may not be in that exact same situation that you were in, but they can always find inspiration of someone else who was able to quote unquote break the shackles and find freedom there. And in your book, you're including family photos and also playlists. Why was it important for you to include music and imagery as part of your story?
I wanted to add more to some of the chapters because I had more to say. I didn't want to add more words to make it exhausting for readers. So I decided to do something with music, first of all. Music is the core of my story, the core of my power. So I decided to create three original pieces for this book, and one of them is Old Daughters for Sale. So there are four songs and some imagery because when I read books, if I see images, I get so excited and I want to see who they are, what their faces look like. So I just wanted to share with readers.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It feels like you get it gets more personal when you see those photos.
Right.
Yeah, it's seeing photos of your family. So
Mhm.
now you want to inspire people, and if you have a young girl who's reading this book, what do you hope young girls, especially those in situations like yours, can take away from this book?
So, as I mentioned it, I came from Afghanistan under the Taliban regime. And even though they ordered me not to dream, but I still found the strength. And the reason why I should, it was because I wanted to live for myself. I didn't want to live to make other people happy. I wanted to see the life I deserved and live the life I wanted. And when they can read this book, they will realize that we all want to have the life that we deserve. But in order to do that, we also have to face the fear that we have, especially the
Yeah.
fear of living under the Taliban regime. If we mainly think about, oh, this is risky, this is very dangerous, we might stay in the same position that we are. Or if we try to see what could come after, facing our fear and risking what we have for something greater, there could be a better award for them, reward. And I just hope that they see the core of this story. And for people who don't live in this situation, I hope that they realize this is not only one Sunnita. There are a million other Sunnitas in Afghanistan around the world who face child marriage every day. So I want them not to forget this story and use their voice in any way possible to advocate for them.
Yeah, that sort of leads to my next question. I was going to ask, what can listeners do to support that mission? And I guess to absolutely, we need to amplify those voices, right?
Some people can use the tool that they have, or uh, they basically by educating themselves about
Mm.
social issues. That could be a huge help for us. I don't want people to be so self centered because I used to be like this. I'm not saying I was always thinking about doing something good. So we all need to learn more and to see in what ways we can give back. For example, if listeners would like to help more Afghan women, they can support the secret schools in Afghanistan because these schools are the only places of hope for women that are still open after the withdrawal of NGOs. When they left Afghanistan, they didn't leave a replacement. So now we have Afghan secret schools. So if they would like to support, they can donate $5 per month to buy notebooks, to buy internet, to pay for the rent. This is a way of helping.
Yeah. Looking ahead here, Sunita, thankfully you didn't stop dreaming. And so I wanted to ask you, what are your dreams now for the future, both for yourself and for the girls and for girls around the world and girls who are living in Afghan or Iran?
For myself, my I don't know if this is big or small, but my dream is to have an album finally that I could record with professional producers because music is very costly and I don't have the budget to spend creating pieces that I have in my mind. And for my future, for the future of girls, women around the world, I am hoping first for Afghan women and Iranian women to gain the freedom, the little freedom that they had, and the achievements that they uh, made during the 20 years that they had. And after Oxford, my hope is that I will be able to return to my home country, to Afghanistan, to work in the government and to see how I can help my country because I do believe the Taliban will not be able to stay in power in Afghanistan or if they want to stay, they have to change their ideology, because the new generation in Afghanistan, they're not going to obey everything that the Taliban say. And that is because of the power of internet, that they know what they want, what their rights are.
Yeah, the world has opened up to them. Definitely. Sunita, thank you so much for joining me. I'm reading your memoir. I'm halfway through. It's been a powerful read, and like I said, it's you said to advocate. You want folks to learn, and I'm learning a lot about your culture and what you went through your memoir. So thank you so much for talking to me. We'll talk
Thank,
to Sunita Alizada, who has wrote a book, a memoir called Sunita: My Fight Against Tyranny and My Escape to Freedom, which is available now. So thank you so much for talking to me. I do really appreciate it.
thank you.